to know if we're fighting the market. On a weekly basis, so zoomed in a bit, no, we are absolutely not fighting the market. It's not, there's no big move to be made at this point. Otherwise, you would see it. Okay, so we zoom into a daily chart on the S&P 500. We go ahead and look at 2023, 2024. We take a look at our volume now. We look at the volume throughout the year. From a daily perspective, is there anything really to be worried about? No. Does that mean that the market doesn't drop? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that we don't have any large scale event to fear. So as we zoom in, we'll know if maybe we should have a little more cash, if we should be hedging, something like that. But right now, all I want to know is if I'm buying Google, like we're going to evaluate Google, are we fighting the market or aren't we? And we're looking at China. So are we fighting the market or aren't we? And let's just face it, the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 are the largest markets in the world and in play at this very moment. So, okay, right now on the daily, the S&P 500, we're okay. And we don't really need to zoom in much more than that. Really, the S&P is more correlated to China, believe it or not. Let's just do a quick analysis of the NASDAQ so that when we look at Google, we will know whether or not we are fighting the market. All right, we're going to zoom out month. Here we go. Same analysis, basically. 08 and 09, again, giant eyesore. If you look at 2020, was 2020 as large of an event for the NASDAQ as it was for the S&P? It wasn't. But guess what? Their most recent drop in the last 2 years, it was a much larger event for the NASDAQ than it certainly was for the S&P 500. And this is buying. They were doubling down on technology. So what this gives you an idea about, what this clues you into is why the market turned the way it did and who it turned for. All right. Now, if you've been following me at that time, all I talked about was the NASDAQ. I didn't care about the S&P 500. Aside for the purposes of confirming what was going on in the NASDAQ, I didn't care. We knew that was about the NASDAQ. This bottom was not difficult to call, and neither was this top. But as you can see, the volume from 2020 is repeated at the lows in 2022. In fact, several times. And we are looking at a monthly chart, so this is not a small thing. Now, what's interesting here is volume has definitely picked up right now across the board in the NASDAQ. So when we're evaluating the NASDAQ, is there anything from a macro scale to be afraid of? No. Is there anything to be excited about? Absolutely. Absolutely. We see volume relative to 2020 that just occurred in that last market drop. So the NASDAQ, yeah, I would say you're looking at this as a very positive light. And as you zoom in, you're going to want to evaluate this in good ways. How much higher can it go? How far down should we pull before we buy more? This is definitely a buy more scenario. I do believe in hedging. Everybody that sees me on Twitter or knows me knows that, or any of the other stuff that I post to. But this is definitely positive, not negative. So let's zoom in just a little bit. Here we are on the weekly. So back here's your 2020, right? We zoom in, and as I said, here's that volume, right? Here's one at the top. This is what really got us moving. And if you were following me at that time, there is not a chance on God's green earth that you would not have been ejecting from the market at this point. You 100% would have. You would never sit in it. You would be confirming the previous drop, which is what this did. It confirmed the previous drop, and this is when we started getting short. Now, as you dip down, and I do study Elliott wave as well, you could see that this was a very, very, very plain wave 3. Longest, largest, very, very plain 3. And here's the volume again. So where we dropped was here. So we're sitting up here at what, 355, 360. So we're already a good 10% off the highs. That volume steps right back in. And here we are down at 300. Yeah, 300, 298. So yeah, actually you're breaking down into that's 275 by the time you finished wave 3. So you had fallen 100 points of the NASDAQ. This right here, this is your buy sign. You know that is buying. There's no question what that is. Institutional money, people that know what they're doing are never selling when you're already down. What is that? 160 some points you're down 30% or so. And then what they're going to do is they're going to come back and they're going to check for supply. So these people that were buying here